Have you ever questioned what the characters of your computer game do once you switch off for the night? Have you wished for the motherlode cheat we all apply to our Sims as being something we could do in real life? What if I told you there's a strong possibility that we're living in a world not far off from the characters we control? That the world around us that we see, touch, and feel is nothing more than a simulation. No, this isn't the stuff of fantasy. The simulation theory is a real, and more importantly, mathematically likely that we're diving into today. So, let's dive in. Red or blue pill? That was the question posed to Neo, the main character in the box office hit The Matrix, a film where Thomas Anderson, a computer programmer by day, transforms into Neo at night. Here he questions the very fabric of the world we live in, and here he's asked a very important question: red or blue pill? So what will it be? Will you take the blue pill, click out of this video and continue on in blissful ignorance? Or will you come with me as we take the red pill and journey together to shatter the illusion of the world around us? The simulation theory was first proposed in 2003 by philosopher Nick Bostrom, a Swedish philosopher with training in theoretical physics, computational neuroscience, logic, and artificial intelligence. Bostrom predicted that there is a good likelihood that humanity as a whole will advance to the point where we can mimic our ancestors in a simulation, just like what we do now with computer games. The day when humans will dominate technology and be able to build enormous supercomputers with the processing power and memory to make simulations of Earth's history is what is known as the post-human stage. Bostrom gives three alternative explanations and argues that at least one of them is almost certainly true, rather than simply claiming that we are in a simulation. These are: the first, the human species is very likely to go extinct before reaching a post-human stage. The second, any post-human civilization is extremely unlikely to run a significant number of simulations of their evolutionary history. And finally, we are almost certainly living in a computer simulation. It follows that the belief that there is a significant chance that we will one day become post-humans who run ancestor simulations is false, unless we are currently living in a simulation. A number of other consequences of this result are also discussed. Or in plain English, the first, we are literally living in a computer simulation. The second, advanced civilizations aren't interested in making simulations about us. We're not interesting enough. And finally, something destroys all civilizations before they're able to advance to the point when they're technologically capable of simulating consciousness. A lot, huh? In essence, what Bostrom proposed was that we could be living in one of the thousands of simulated realities at the mercy of whoever is out there running the simulations. Or we aren't. Who's to know? The point of submitting three hypotheses is that Bostrom argues that one must be true. But which one? Without going into the maths of everything Bostrom proposed, let's look at another simulation hypothesis that has been put forward since time itself began. Born sometime in 400 BC, Plato, a Greek philosophist and student of Socrates, wrote what is now known as the cave allegory. In it, Plato describes a group of prisoners trapped in a cave. The group are bound by chains and brackets, with nothing to do but stare at the wall opposite. As time passes, the prisoners began to see projected shadows of objects cast onto the wall, made from the light passing over their heads. The prisoners see these objects as reality, the only reality they know. Eventually, one of the men escapes the cave and joins the real world, witnessing the beauty it has to offer. After he escapes, he comes to realize that the nature of the only world he had ever known, that of the world he created looking at the shadows of the cave, was nothing more than made up in his own head. Plato's theory from this claims that ideas and thoughts have just as much weight in creating a reality as reality itself. In a tale truly as old as time, we can apply the simulation theory to this allegory and consider, are we the prisoners trapped in just another elaborate cave? And Plato wasn't the only philosopher to put forward such a belief. Zhang Zhou, a Chinese philosopher and Taoist monk who lived around the 4th century BC, was found one day as his followers discovered him sobbing inconsolably in his bed. When asked why he was so upset, he told them that he had a dream in which he was a butterfly. It was so real that the dream was as if he was actually there. He even said, "Now I don't know whether I'm a monk dreaming that I am a butterfly, or a butterfly dreaming that I am a monk." Zhang Zhou wrote about this experience in one of his more influential texts, the Zhuangzi. Suddenly he woke up, and there he was, solid and unmistakable, Zhang Zhou. But he didn't know if he was Zhang Zhou, who had dreamt he was a butterfly, or a butterfly dreaming that he was Zhang Zhou. Before computers, complex mathematics, and even a wider knowledge of the workings of the universe were commonplace, both philosophers had begun to question reality in and of itself. Both Plato and Zhang Zhou, without knowing it, had conceptualized the idea that what we feel and believe to be true could simply be an illusion. Both were looking for an explanation of human perception and the function of the senses and intellect. But let's go back into the modern world, shall we? In an age where we can use AI to do, well, pretty much anything, how far off simulated reality are we? Throw on a VR headset and some 4D cinema and you're not far off. And now we're back in the 21st century. Aside from Bostrom, who else is advocating for this theory? Love him or hate him, Elon Musk is one of the many that are vocally supporting the idea of a simulated reality. In a world where electric cars and pencil-in trips to Mars surround us every day, what does the world's second richest man have to say? On June 1st, 2022, during an appearance at a code conference in Rancho Palos Verdes, he spoke about the theory, saying, "The strongest argument for us probably being in a simulation is that 40 years ago, we had Pong, 2 rectangles and a dot. That's what games were. Now, 40 years later, we have photorealistic 3D simulations with millions of people playing simultaneously. It is getting better every year. If you assume any rate of improvement at all, then the games will become indistinguishable from reality. Given that we're clearly on a trajectory to have games that are indistinguishable from reality, and those games could be played on any set-top box, then there would probably be billions of such computers and set-top boxes. It would seem to follow that the odds that we're in a base reality is 1 in billions. Could humanity really be just an evolved version of a computer game? Are we Pong?" It might be easy to shake your head and walk away, but consider this. How often do you realize you're asleep? How often are you able to control a dream or jolt yourself out of a nightmare because you realize it's just in your head? I'm guessing it happens less than you'd like. But what about the other times? When you're happily acting out a dream only to be awakened by the sound of your alarm and realize none of it was real. It's time to wake up.